Hi, Shane Saracen here to talk about the next Daily Drumming Influences Revisited, originally posted in 2012. Again, on Studio Drummers Week, we're going to go with Paul Leim today. Now, Paul Leim is another one of those guys who at this point is kind of Nashville based, but was California based for a long time. I read the name, I think the first time I heard Paul Leim's name was reading it off of a Doc Severinsen album. And there was some great drumming going on, and I looked it up, and Paul Leim was the name I saw. And then, of course, through Modern Drummer and in reading the backs of albums or CD jackets or stuff, you start to find out these guys are the cream of the crop and some of the tops in drumming. And Paul Leim was one of those guys, and to me, it was fantastic. And in the age of clinics and things like that, I actually got to see Paul Leim do a clinic, and it was tremendous. And he basically played along with some tracks and talks about what he does. And the drum sound was tremendous. The way he hit the drums, everything was great. And so he became an influence. Oddly enough, years ago, now quite a long time ago, in Boise, Idaho, I was playing at this Wednesday night thing. Was called a Live at 5 or a Live After 5, and it was in downtown by a fountain area in the middle of a courtyard type thing, and they would have these music acts every Wednesday. And some friends of mine in town, we had put together this quasi Latin band called Charlie's Homemade Salsa, and we were playing this a Live After 5. Now I had to play later that night at Hannah's with Rocky Johnson, but as I'm playing, I look out into the crowd and I see a guy standing there with sunglasses. Now, the only way I knew who Paul Leim was from Modern Drummer articles and things like that, because they were kind of focusing on putting a face to the studio drummers and stuff at the time. And this was, like I said, quite some time ago. And I'm going to say in the 2000s, early 2000s, somewhere in there. And I looked at this guy, and I thought, man, that looks like Paul Leim. So we go on break, and I walk out there, and he's still there, and I walk up to him. I said, excuse me, this may seem kind of weird, but you look like Paul Leim. And he just kind of was stunned and said, I am Paul Leim. He was shocked that somebody recognized him. And we talked, and he was in town to play a show, I think it was the following evening, with Neil Diamond at the Idaho Center. And Ronnie Tutt, who had been Neil Diamond's drummer, had a heart attack or a stroke. And so Paul Leim was flown out to do a series of shows with him. So he was in Boise, and probably staying at the hotel that's right there next to it. They often did that, next to the where we played a Live After 5. It's called the Grove. And so he was really cool, and he came down to the club at Hannah's that night, and we were playing in the first set at the time. Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain was very, very popular. So we were playing that song, and I noticed that he was in there. Now, he wasn't there when we started, but I could see he came in during the first set sometime. So when we went on break, I went out and talked to him again, and I just said, hey, man, I have a question for you. Now, when you hear the tune, Man, I Feel Like a Woman, there's it's kind of a lilt or a shuffle-ish type feel on that tune, where you hear like, do God, but you hear underneath it this moving part. So I was playing like a Jeff Porcaro, like underneath ghost notes underneath the main groove, and that's how I played the song. So anyway, I asked him. I said, hey man, if you don't mind me asking you, what did you play on Man, I Feel Like a Woman? Because I know he had recorded the album for Shania Twain. He said, you really want to know? And I said, yeah. And he goes, dude, ba, do, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba. That's what I play. The rest of it is a loop, recorded loop. And oh, okay, well, now I know. So I didn't change my part because if I just played it straight, it didn't have that underlying feel to it. But um, anyway, he was great to me, great to talk to, certainly an influence, and you could find him playing a little bit of everything. I said primarily Nashville based now. There's a lot of really good videos on YouTube of him explaining uh, his drum choices. He's a Yamaha guy. I believe he plays a birch toms with maple bass drums. It's not uncommon to see pictures of him with mismatched drums because he has so many kids. And I'm sure he goes for sounds. I love this bass drum sound, but I like these tom sounds, so he just puts that kit together for a session. I also have one of my favorite snares, if not my favorite, is the Paul Leim signature snare from Yamaha, which is I have the 6.5 version. It is a brass shell that is chrome plated, and it has cast aluminum hoops, and then it has 24 karat gold lugs on it, plated, of course, plated lugs, and it's one throw up, but dual adjustments on the snares, and it's just a tremendous drum. One of my favorites, if not the favorite. There's videos of me playing that, so definitely an inspiration on me. A great guy, super nice to meet, and super nice to talk to. So the drumming influence for the day, Paul Leim, Studio Drummers Week 2.